Okay, let's switch this up here. Let's see what happens if I take these out. Thank you, Courtney. Okay, Courtney. Is this better, Courtney? Can you actually hear me now, love? Yay! Thank you, Courtney. You are an angel. You're a love bug. You're a doll. You're a dream come true. Because how would I have known? I would have been sitting here talking for like 20 minutes. Thank you so much. So, okay, to sum up, a situationship is a situation or a relationship where you want it to be a committed and exclusive relationship and it isn't. You know, you want it to be that. You really want that to happen, and so you've been investing time and energy into making that happen, and it's just not happening. And there's an extra element to a situationship that makes it much more difficult, and it also makes the breakup more difficult. So the thing that makes it more difficult is that very often when you're in a situationship, there is this extra element of embarrassment or a feeling of shame, right? And we've all kind of, I think it's the type of situation that, like, in modern dating, modern relationships, we've probably, the vast majority of us has experienced a situationship, you know, and it's a difficult thing when we're in it because we keep thinking, if this person would just open their eyes and see how amazing I am and choose me, everything would be great, right? That's the feeling that we have really often, is like, they'll figure out how great I am and then they'll choose me and then we'll get this show on the road. Like, it'll be a real relationship and it'll be great, right? But very often that's not where it goes, right? Hi, Demisha. Hi, love. So it's good to see you, and it was great seeing your pictures. I hope that Tulum was fun. So yeah, situationship. So it can be really difficult because it is that situation of, like, we can sometimes feel like we kind of sold ourselves out, or we stayed there too long. You know, we have, there's an element usually of, like, embarrassment to it. And if it goes on for a long time, there can be an element of shame to it. And like Brene Brown says, shame thrives in secrecy and silence. So often we don't talk to other people about what's really going on in our situationship. And the reason is that we don't want to have to admit to them the red flags that we've ignored so that we can stay there. And we don't want them to think of us as naive. We don't want them to think of us as foolish, you know, and we don't want to have to deal with somebody's criticism at a time when what we really need is their understanding and compassion. You know, we don't want to have to deal with someone's judgment when what we really need is their understanding, you know. So that makes it especially isolating when we're in a situationship. Then when the situation breaks up, there are a lot of things that make that even more difficult, because we don't know where we stand with that person in the first place very often, right? So we don't really know where we stand. And so the breakup can sometimes feel like this really strange, drawn out thing, because it's like maybe it's an on again, off again thing anyway. And so when it's off, you don't know, is it over or is it just a pause? And so you're waiting for closure, or you're waiting to reconnect, and that's not happening, So that can be something that's really, really difficult. It's just it's the ambiguity of not even knowing what's going on in the first place. Am I with this person? Am I not with this person? Is this a regular break for us, like we have been experiencing? Or is this something that's a real thing? Like something that, is this permanent? Right, is something that we're often asking ourselves. So a lot of times, the thing that can complicate a situationship is that we have that extra element, that extra element of embarrassment or shame, right? And sometimes it's a feeling that like we've sold ourselves out in a way, because we may have been talking a lot about what we wanted in love and what our standards are, and being really firm with ourselves about what that is. But then as soon as we feel this chemistry with this other person, we start to kind of chase that thing. And then when we see that it doesn't go where we wanted it to go, and it doesn't seem like it's going there, we have a lot of, it's not just the judgment of other people that we're worried about. We're judging ourselves. So anybody can end up in a situationship. It's not a thing of like, that particularly it's something that happens to someone who's particularly naive, or that's something that happens to someone who's desperate, or anything like that. It can happen to anyone. Anyone can end up in a situationship. So there are a few things that make that kind of a breakup a little bit harder, and so we want to deal with those things. The first thing that we want to do in a breakup situation, we're always wanting to relieve the pain in the best and healthiest ways that we can, right? It's like we're already in that situation. It's already difficult for us. We're already sort of struggling. So we don't want to pile a whole bunch of work on top of that, of like, this is when I have to grow. It's like, I'm really hurting right now, and I would like to take a little break from everything. Is kind of the way that we feel. We're like, I think I'm going to check out for a bit. We're not like, yay, I get to grow. We don't have the energy for it. We don't have the interest in it. We're in pain, and we need to experience relief from the pain. So here are some of those things that you can do when you're in a situationship to help you relieve that pain. One of them is sleep. Sleep can be so helpful. Some of our emotional things that we go through can only be healed with adequate sleep, sufficient sleep. And I know that it's difficult sometimes when we are in a situationship, or when we're in a breakup rather, of any kind, because even if we're trying to sleep, it's like our bodies can be exhausted from what we're going through, but our minds might not be able to rest. We're playing through every detail of everything and thinking of it from every angle, and what if I did this differently, and what's this person doing right now, and is there something that I could do that would be different? We're doing all of these things in our minds right now, all the time, right? So we want to get sleep, we want to get rest, but we're tired and wired. So it's very hard for us to do that, right? But we want to get as much rest as we can. We want to make our bedroom like an oasis. We want to get really comfy bedding and blackout curtains, and make the room a little bit cooler than we normally would. And if we can take any LEDs out of there so that we can actually sleep really deeply, those are the kind of things that we want to do. Another thing is that we want to take care of our bodies, because a lot of times when we are experiencing shame or experiencing embarrassment, the physical reaction in our body is the same as if we have been physically wounded. We will experience inflammation in our muscles and in our joints as the result of feeling abandoned or feeling rejected. It feels like a physical impact. It feels like a slap. And we can have we need to take care of ourselves. You know, we need to deal with that. And one of the ways to do that is that we can take warm baths with Epsom salts and with lavender. And that helps us to be able to calm ourselves. It helps us to be able to calm our nervous system and to be able to heal that inflammation, to be able to actually work that through our bodies. Another thing is really gentle stretching and going for walks, you know, feeling the sunshine on our faces, feeling the breeze on our skin. Really simple things that remind us to be present in our body, and that being present in our body can be a pleasure. The other thing is hugs. We need hugs. We need to spend time with our friends who are not judgmental and get lots of hugs. It's very helpful for our emotional state, and it helps to heal us physically. Our immune system takes a dip when we go through a breakup, and hugs help to bring it back up. So do massages. Massages help to heal our immune system and keep it in top shape, especially when we're going through something really difficult emotionally and we're struggling. And laughter. You know, there are things, if you have a favorite comedian and every time, you know, you watch a certain special of theirs, it always makes you laugh, watch that. If you have a friend who's really funny, you know, and you love to be around them, be around them. You know, sometimes we shy away from laughter and letting ourselves feel better because we're like, well, if I feel better, if I laugh in the middle of this, first we think, well, it's not possible for me to laugh in the middle of this. But then we start to think, if I do laugh in the middle of this, it means I didn't love that person. It means I'm not really suffering. And if I'm not really suffering deeply, that must mean I really didn't love that person or something like that. We get into this thing of like, I can't let myself feel better because it will mean that they didn't matter to me or that I'm not hurt by what they did or something like that. You can go through the breakup and you can know that it's difficult and it's hard, and you can still have the laughter. You can still let yourself experience pleasure. You can still be okay. It's okay to be okay while you're not okay. I hope that makes sense. Another thing that we need to do, aside from taking care of the pain, relieving the pain, is that we want to forgive ourselves. We need to forgive ourselves. A lot of times we're judging ourselves really harshly for getting into the situation. We're judging ourselves really harshly for the time that we've invested in that situation, especially women. Women, we do that because we have a different concept of time. So for women, you know, whether you are, it's just like a physiological thing. We look at time differently because for women, we have, we think of time subconsciously and just in terms of our bodies. Time means something to us because even if we're not planning on having children, even if we're beyond the time in our lives when we would have children, we still look at time as a precious thing because we know that there are cycles of birth and we feel closer to like cycles of birth and death and stuff like that, right? Men, time isn't as much of a thing, I think, unless people are going through difficult experiences with health and stuff like that, and then they can go back and go, oh my gosh, time is really important and I need to cherish every second of it. But it's like, for men, time kind of stretches as this horizon because men can have babies forever. You know, for women, time feels much more precious. So when you can see it when people break up, because when men and women break up, even if it's an amicable breakup, very often the man will say, she was such a wonderful person and I'm grateful for the time we had together, even though it didn't work out. And very often the women will say, I wasted the best years of my life with this person. Because we have different concepts of time. It means different things to us, you know. So we need to, if we're judging ourselves for the time we've invested in that situationship, then we need to forgive ourselves for that and not judge ourselves for that. We need to let it go. We need to forgive ourselves for the ways that we feel like we might have sold ourselves out. You know, sometimes we feel like we compromise too much to be in a relationship, that we lower our standards too much, or we forgive too often, we forgive too many things, we let too much go. And we need to just forgive ourselves for that. You know, we need to be able to release that. We need to be able to start talking about it. And not talking about it with everybody, because sometimes there are people who can't hold space without judgment. That is a thing. So what we want to do is be able to talk about it in safe places. And sometimes that means therapy. Sometimes that means journaling. Sometimes that's in a group. Sometimes that's with a love coach. So those are some of the things that we can do to deal with the really unique pain of a situationship. And no matter what kind of a breakthrough that breakup that you're going through, I was hoping for a breakthrough. I like to focus on breakthroughs. You know, the pain of a breakup is something difficult that we all kind of shy away from. But if you are experiencing a breakup right now, go to overnightheartachecure.com, because it doesn't matter whether it was 5 days ago or whether it was 5 years ago. We carry wounds from the breakup forward with us, and it makes it difficult to attract and sustain new love. And it also just makes it difficult for us to feel better now, you know, to feel like before we even think about whether a future is possible, we need to have relief from the pain we're experiencing right now. We need to have relief from the beliefs that are really hurtful for us right now, you know, that are in our minds right now. So Overnight Heartache Cure is an audio program I've created to help you heal from your breakup while you sleep. So go and check that out. And if you'd like to talk about working together, then go to soullovesession.com, and I will see you on the inside. Take care.